In this YouTube video, we're going to start with a simple practice problem and then slowly work our way up to harder practice problems. These are all going to be on the SAT, and the concept we're focusing on today is being able to solve for an expression. And in these examples, we can't solve for a variable and then plug it in to get a numerical answer. So these are technically unsolvable in terms of plugging in x and y. What you have to do is you have to be able to see that there's a transition from the expression that they gave us to the expression that we're supposed to solve. And it typically involves multiplying or dividing. So in this example, I hope you can see that we basically multiplied 2x minus 5 to get 6x minus 15. I'm gonna use my blue marker to show that. Essentially, we multiplied that by 3. And what you're allowed to do is you're allowed to multiply the 7 by 3 as well to represent what this entire expression is equal to. So we know that 6x minus 15y equals 21. We don't know what x and y are equal to, but that's not what they're asking for. They're only asking for what the equation, or I'm sorry, the expression equals. So another example is going to be negative 4x plus 6y equals 13. And we're supposed to find 2x minus 3y. Now they don't look too similar, but I hope you can notice that if we divide the initial expression by 2, we do get 2x and 3y. The only issue is we have a change in signs as well. So we have a negative x value in our initial expression. And look at what they're asking for. They're asking for an expression that has a positive x value. And then it's the same thing with the y. We have a positive y value and then in the initial expression, and then we have a negative y value. So what that means, guys, all right, don't let that overwhelm you. All that it means is we multiplied or divided by a negative number. So we identified that it's going to be divided by 2 because we're going from 4 to 2 on the x term and 6 to 3 on the y. But now you also have to understand and interpret that it's a negative 2. So we're dividing by negative 2. So what that means is we have 13 divided by negative 2. That can't quite be simplified. Your answer will be negative 13 halves. Similarly, if they have a multiple choice option where it doesn't have any fractions, you might have this as a decimal. If they have this as a decimal, understand that 12 divided by 2 is 6, and then we're just 1 over that. We are 1 more than 12, and 1 is half of 2, so we have 6.5. I should say negative 6.5 as our decimal answer. So it's either negative 13 halves or negative 6.5. All right, so you can see how it gets a little bit more tricky, a little trickier. It could take some time to get used to it, but once you're able to identify these things, it really does save a lot of time on the SAT. You could solve these within easily 25 seconds, and the average time you should spend on each question is 1.5 minutes, about 1 minute and 20 seconds. So this could save you a lot of time for the harder questions. Let's do another one. We have 3y minus x equals 21, and then we're supposed to find 3x minus 9y. So again, a little tricky. It's getting a little bit harder each time, guys. Understand that the order of the letters does matter. So we have the y first in the initial expression, and then in the expression that they're asking us to solve, they have the y last. Let's go ahead and rearrange the initial expression. When you rearrange the initial expression, we have negative x plus 3y. You want to keep the sign that's to the left of your term attached to that term. That's why we keep the negative x and the positive 3y. And that's going to be equal to 21. We don't change the right-hand side when we rearrange that. So now let's compare. Now the signs changed, and we multiplied by 3. So the change is multiplication by a negative 3. All we have to do is multiply the 21 times a negative 3. That's going to be a negative 63. All right, and that's your answer. If negative 3/4 y plus 1/4 x equals negative 2, find positive 12 y minus 4x. The letters are arranged the same way. The signs change. So we are going to be multiplying or dividing by a negative number. We are multiplying. In the initial expression, we have fractions, and then we have whole numbers in the expression we're supposed to find. So we know we're multiplying by a negative number. And to figure out what number this is, it might be a little bit harder if you look at the y term, but don't worry, just go ahead and skip the y term and look at the x term. It doesn't matter what term you're basing your decision off of, because it's the same change happening, the same change. So we have 1/4 x to 4x. That means 1/4 times an unknown number equals 4. And I'm just breaking this down really slowly. I'm sure some of you could do this in your head. You'll figure out that it's 16. We are multiplying this expression by the number -16. If you're still a little uncertain how we got that, use this equation that I set up to solve for that question mark. All right, so we multiplied -16. Let's take that -2 and multiply it by that same number. We get a +32, and we're done. That's it. All of these are great FRQ questions, except if they end in a negative sign. You'll never get a negative answer in an FRQ question on the SAT. However, most of these typically show up on the non-calculator section of the SAT, and furthermore, on the FRQ section. Let's transition into something similar, and it does involve systems of equations, and you could solve this question using systems of equations. You could solve for x and then solve for y, or vice versa, and then plug them into this expression. However, I want to show you a shortcut that could save you a lot of time on the SAT. So they gave us a system of equations. Go ahead and observe that for a moment. The question's asking for the value of this expression, x minus 10y. This does mean you would have to solve for x and then solve for y and then plug those into this expression. And of course you could do that, absolutely, but that will take more time than what I'm about to show you. You could recognize that the difference between the x terms is 1x, and the difference between the y terms is a -10y. So let me set this up real quick. I'm going to reorder the system of equations. I'm not changing anything. So nothing changed, but now I want to show you the difference between these two equations will give you 1x, and then that's going to become a -7y, so it's -10y. And then we're going to have a +18 with the +6, giving us a +24. Now, as I subtracted those, you could do that relatively quickly, and look, you get the final answer immediately. I didn't plug any numbers into x and y, but I have a matching expression with what they are requesting. They're requesting x minus 10y. And so I know right off the bat it's 24, and I'm done. I can move on to the next question. Similarly, a more difficult version of this question would be to find 2x minus 20y. You would typically do the same, or hypothetically do the same process, and then once you get 24, you simply multiply it by 2. So you see, in that practice example, your final answer would just be 48. Again, I didn't plug anything. I didn't solve for any variable. Let's do another one of these problems. We have 2x plus 2y equals 3, and then we have 3x plus 3y equals 7. So I think you can already see the math coming up ahead. It's the question is going to say find the value of the following expression. Let's do -5x minus 5y. So again, hopefully you could see immediately that the 2 and 3 are, the x terms add up to 5. The y terms add up to 5 as well. And the constants on the other side of the equal sign give us 10. However, they ask for -5x minus 5y. We don't have to do anything fancy. Just remember, you have to multiply. When you see that change of signs, multiply it by a negative number. Okay? And so we have -5x minus 5y equals -10, and that's your answer, -10. Alright guys, thank you for watching, thank you for supporting. Any requests, let me know down in the comments. Feel free to request any specific topics, I'll be happy to help you out. I'm here for that. And check out the website, pathtomath.us, if you need more help with math. Thank you.